You know, in procurement, we're always trying to make the absolute best call in a world that just won't sit still. So today, we're going to talk about a really powerful tool that helps you get a handle on all that uncertainty. It's called sensitivity analysis. Let's get into it.
Okay, so picture this. You've spent weeks, maybe even months, on a huge sourcing decision. You've built these beautiful models, you've crunched all the numbers, and bam, you've found it. The single best, most cost-effective supplier. On paper, it is a perfect plan.
But then, that little voice in the back of your head kicks in. You know the one that every great procurement pro has. It starts asking, but what if? Because let's be honest, the second you lock in that perfect plan, the real world is already warming up to throw you a curveball.
And those curveballs, they can come from literally anywhere. All of a sudden, fuel prices shoot through the roof and wreck your transport budget. Or a new tariff gets slapped on that erases all your savings. Maybe your own demand forecast was a little too optimistic. A key port gets totally jammed up, or a machine you rely on just goes down. Any one of these things can take your brilliant decision and turn it into a bad one, really, really fast.
So how do we get ahead of this? How do we build plans that don't just fall apart at the first sign of trouble? Well, the answer is sensitivity analysis. The best way to think about it is like a stress test for your decisions. You're seeing how they hold up when things get tough. So what is it really? At its heart, it's just a what-if game. You build a model to see how changing one single thing, an input, like the cost of fuel, ends up affecting your final result, like your total cost. It basically lets you test just how sensitive your plan is to all those variables you can't control. This really gets to the heart of what we do. The writer Jorge Luis Borges put it perfectly. We know we're operating on shifting ground, we're building on sand. But our job, our whole goal, is to make decisions that are so solid, so dependable, it's as if they were built on stone. And sensitivity analysis, that's the tool that lets us do it.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. How do we actually use this thing to test our assumptions and make stronger decisions? Well, it all starts with a pretty straightforward process. The most common way to do this is called one-way analysis, and it's actually really simple. First, you just build your basic cost model. Second, you look at it and you pinpoint the variables that make you a little nervous, the ones you're not so sure about, like transportation rates. Third, and this is key, you change just one of those things, up or down, while keeping everything else the same, and then you just watch what happens to your bottom line.
Let's walk through a classic example. Say you're choosing between two suppliers. Right now, in our baseline scenario, supplier A is coming in at a total cost of $500,000. Supplier B is at $520,000. So, it's a no-brainer, right? Supplier A is the clear winner. But here comes that crucial question again, what if? What happens if something changes? We know supplier A is located further away, which means they're way more exposed if shipping costs get volatile. So let's run the numbers. What happens if transport costs suddenly jump up by 15%? And would you look at that? Just like that, the whole decision flips on its head. Supplier A's cost balloons up to $545,000. And now, all of a sudden, supplier B is the cheaper option at $535,000. This is it. This is how one single, totally plausible change can completely blow up our original best choice. That's the power of this analysis, right there. And this leads us to a really fundamental shift in how we should think. See, the goal of great strategic procurement isn't just about finding the best answer for right now. It's about finding the most robust solution, the one that's going to hold up for whatever comes next. And that's the key difference right here, optimal versus robust. An optimal solution, it's perfect for one specific set of circumstances, but it can be super fragile. A robust solution, on the other hand, is one that performs pretty well across a whole bunch of different possible futures. It might not be the absolute rock-bottom cheapest choice today, but it's the one that's most likely to stay a good choice no matter what happens. So when you start thinking this way, you're not just a buyer anymore, you're a strategist. This kind of analysis gives you a much deeper, more complete picture of your decisions, and that gives you a massive strategic edge. And the benefits are huge. You're reducing uncertainty. You're identifying your biggest risks before they become problems. You can even catch mistakes in your own original assumptions. And, this is a big one, it gives you the hard data you need to go to leadership and justify your decisions, showing them that you've thought through multiple outcomes. It all leads to better resource allocation and, at the end of the day, just plain, smarter, more resilient choices for the business. Look, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. It's time to move on from hunting for the one single right answer. Instead, our job is to understand the full landscape of possibilities and prepare for them. That's really where powerful analysis meets good business sense.
So, I'll leave you with a question to think about. When you look at the big procurement decisions on your desk right now, which of them are truly built on stone? And which ones might be built on sand, just waiting for the world to change? Stress testing them now might be the smartest move you make all year.